So let's get started. A couple of words about Borderless. I'm sure many of you know, but if you're new, hello, my name is Veronica. I'm the founder of Borderless, and we have Ruchi, who is an admissions mentor. There are a few things that we do. Number one is that we have a very big repository of admission stories, which you can read on the following website. The reason we created it is because we know that for you guys, it's very, very important to see other people who look like you, who are able to achieve admission to top colleges, or maybe even not top, but just to go abroad. Because I'm from Uzbekistan, and to me, nothing inspires me more than seeing other Uzbeks succeeding overseas. And we did our best to collect tons of stories, details, advice from all of the different countries that you guys are coming from. So definitely read that. Then we have a guidance platform, which is essentially an AI-powered set of tools that help you with essays, college recommendations, and extracurricular activities. Again, it's completely free, so you can use it on the website app.borderless.so. And lastly, for people who want more help, or for those who are targeting really elite and competitive institutions, we also offer admissions mentorship with Ruchi as the main counselor. And this primarily works for people who are really going for top schools, because we are going deep into your essays, into reflections. We're trying to come up with the extracurricular strategy. So if you're applying this year, there's not as much we can do, but we can definitely help you polish everything. Or if you're applying next year, we would love for you to contact us and to see if we would be the best mentors for you. And I would like to introduce Ruchi. So Ruchi has 2 degrees. One is from University of Rochester in communications and history, and the second one at Georgetown, which both of these are amazing schools. If anyone has these colleges on the list, let us know. It would be great to hear. Before Borderless, Ruchi has worked at a variety of companies such as Crimson Education, Pearson, The Red Pen, and Ingenious Prep. And currently, she's with us helping all of you guys build the best applications, get into your dream schools, and tell authentic stories, which is very much related to our topic today. We will have a section of theory and advice from Ruchi, and then personally, I think the best part is the live review of essays. So definitely stick around until the end, and then we will also have the Q&A session. So approximately it'll be about an hour. And I hope you guys are going to be engaged, watching, not being on your phone, please. Even though if you take stories and post them on Instagram, tag us, that's very welcome. But genuinely, we want you to be present, engaged, because especially if you're planning this year, this is really the crunch time, and we'll do our best to help you out. So with that being said, I will pass it on to Ruchi. And maybe Ruchi, it's better if you share your slides so that you can change them in a correct order. Yep.
I'm just going to connect.
Right, we have so many countries here. That is amazing.
It's lovely to see people who are applying to Rochester and Georgetown as well. Always very happy with that. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much for.
Yeah.
Wait, sorry, what is it? Yeah.
All good.
All right. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction, and lovely to meet everybody. I am so excited. There's so many of you from different parts of the world. I just saw someone who said it's 5:30 a.m. their time and they've still joined, so that's great. I really hope I'm able to give you some worthy advice for you to have woken up this early in the morning. But yes, today we are really going to only be focusing mainly on writing your Common App essay. I think over the years, working in different companies, seeing students from different parts of the world, different curriculums, different English language capabilities, I think time and time again, this essay is the thing that really, really students find very hard. And I'm going to start by saying that it is completely okay that you are feeling this way. It is a very difficult part of the application. It's very hard for most people to be reflective. It's very hard for most people to be personal. It's very hard to just kind of do everything that the essay is asking you to do. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling like you have writer's block, you are not alone. You are part of a general cohort of people. So that is, please take that at least from this session. Okay, so let's kind of start by looking at, generally speaking, what are the components of a US application. Now, if you have generally done the US application process, you know that there is going to be the data. So the data is what basically is your grades, is things like that. Then you have your activities list. If you're looking at the Common App, then you're looking to add about 10 activities that you have done over the course of 4 years. You have your letters of recommendation, which come from your teachers. Sometimes universities might ask you for additional resume, and then you have your essays in big bold letters. And I really want to emphasize essays multiple for those of you who are going to apply anywhere, even competitive or even slightly competitive, because that's really what you're looking at. You have your Common App essay, but then you'll also have supplemental essays. So some universities might have one supplemental essay for the person who's applying to Rochester. You have one. If you're looking to apply to a Yale or a Stanford, you're looking at about 8 supplemental essays. So really, I think there is a lot of writing. If you are looking, the higher you aim, the more writing you are really looking at. So that's generally what, I mean, there could be other bits and pieces that might be specific to certain universities, but this is generally what you are looking at. Then what is, I think, the main thing about the essay. Now, this, I think a lot of times people think that the essay has to be a reiteration of their academic interests, or maybe like, your most involved extracurricular activity. That is not really the case. The thing with the essay is that it should really be showing your voice. Who are you? Why have you done the activities that you have done? I believe, I mean, I actually am taking this from Veronica, because she says that the essay should be the why for the what activities are in your extracurricular list. And you have to show personality in your essay. You have to really tell us who you are beyond these grades, beyond these data points. It is also the only part of the application which is not like just objective, right? Like if I look at a grade, I'm just going to be like, okay, well, this is a good grade or this is a bad grade. An essay is not really good or bad. An essay is just how much of your story is it telling. That's really what the essay is doing. The one thing to remember, though, is that while it shows personality, the essay cannot replace your academics. You cannot, there is not going to be a reality where you might have a C grade and a stellar essay is going to push you past the finish line. That's not going to happen. This is something which is essentially going to be who you are as a person. It is showing that you are human. This is the human behind those application papers. So that's one thing to really remember as you write that essay. Okay, I get a lot of questions about how applications are read, how essays are read. As someone who used to read applications for the University of California schools, I'll tell you that people don't have a lot of time. Application, admissions officers look at a lot of applications. And generally speaking, they are spending about 90 seconds on your essay, not on the entire application, on the essay component. The application in total has what, maybe 10 to 12 pages, but the essays are requiring. So that being said, in 90 seconds, you really want to make sure that you are being memorable, you have specific stories and insights, because I don't know how familiar you are with the application reading process, but what generally happens is that you have a group of people who read, and then someone will say, well, I want to take this application to the next round. So for them to be able to remember you, you need to have specific stories. Don't tell me, just don't, in your essay, don't say things like, I'm curious. Show how you are curious, right? Be very specific, give details, give stories which are specific to where you come from. So if you come from India and if you come in, you live in a certain town, give names to these things. Give names to your details. Give names to your streets and your houses and everything. That is specific, right? So really hang on to these details, right? Now, like I said earlier, important thing is to really focus on the essays bit, right? So what I mean by that is that there are two types of essays that most universities will need. Your Common App essay, which most universities will require it. There are universities like Penn State that sometimes doesn't even look at your Common App essay, but generally speaking, every university which is on the Common App platform will need a Common App essay. And then you have supplements. And by supplements, what do I mean is you have usually three different types of supplements. You have a why college essay. A why college essay is something which is really asking, why are you applying to this university? And they want to see how well you know the university, what are the resources there. Then you have a why major essay. And by a why major essay, I mean, why do you want to study the subject you want to study? So in the US, you don't really have to be super specific, but you still need to have a good idea about why you are studying things. Then you have something like the community or diversity essays. Now, these are things which have been quite new to the application process. And essentially for international students, they really are a way of describing where you come from. And what have you learned by being part of that kind of upbringing or that kind of community? Maybe there are values that you have learned that you want to bring to university. The one thing to remember with the community essay is that it's very the topic or the prompt might look very different for each university, right? So you want to be able to understand what the community. I think a lot of people assume that the community essay is about community service. That's not really the case. It's really about the community you identify with or you belong to. Now that could be something as specific as someone who loves, like, who does a lot of animal shelter service. It can also just be someone who, you belong to a community of people who wear glasses, for example, or the community of people who are left-handed, or the community of people who live by the ocean. Community is really what you define it to be. So some universities specifically actually say this, and that is really how you should take that essay. There are a smattering of other essays, like, the Ivy Leagues ask you things about book lists and the favorite book that you've read. There are essays which ask you to write a letter to your future roommate. UPenn very famously asks you to write a note of gratitude to someone. So those are generally different from these three other essays that you're looking at. The one tip I would say, maybe if I say that as tip number 2 after being authentic, is that try not to have the same things in all of these essays. If you are going to talk about your interest in studying economics in your why major essay, don't touch upon that in your Common App essay and in your community essay, because then the admissions officer is reading the same thing again and again. Use these essays as opportunities to show different parts of your personality. So really understand that, try not to overlap. The third tip is the why major and the why college essays are not these independent floating things. You still need to tie them back to your profile. And what I mean by that is, don't just say, I want to study economics at University of Rochester. What has your journey been so far that makes you sure about this? Maybe you've taken economics in school. Maybe you've done a research paper. Maybe you've done an internship. Maybe you've watched a YouTube video. Maybe you've heard a podcast. It has to be a journey. It cannot be a random interest that has just come up and that you are now going to do at university. So you have to tie it back to who you are. A lot of times students will forget to do that. They'll just say why they want to study, as in, okay, I want to study economics because I want to pursue policy in the future, but they'll forget to say how they got to that interest in the first place. So these are a few things to remember as you write these essays. Okay, so the Common App essay, you have 7 prompts you can choose from. The last prompt is like a free for all. I think the prompt is not really important. I think a lot of people try to pick a prompt and then try to write an essay through that. It actually should be backwards. It's more about figuring out what your story is and then having that story answer a particular prompt. In our process at Borderless, when we help students write their essays, we actually don't even pick a prompt till maybe draft number 3 or 4. Because I think that's when the essay starts really answering a particular prompt, right? Any story can work. anything. I think a lot of people think that it has to be these grand things like, oh, I went out and I solved global poverty. That is amazing if you have done that. But at the end of the day, the admissions officers are aware that you guys are within reason high school students, and they want to see that level of story. They want to see what is your life like in school? What do you do with your friends? What do you do when you're hanging out in your neighborhood? So essays don't have to be about big gestures, grand achievements. It's really just about who you are and what do you value and what are the characteristics that you have come up with in the process. It can be about a lot of people write to write about sports or teams that they've been a part of, music, dance, because I don't think a lot of times students come to us and say, oh, but my essay is not unique enough. It's not about uniqueness, it's about showing who you are. It can have the same topic. Multiple people can have learnings from playing football. Doesn't mean that football is a bad topic, but what have you learned from playing that? What is your story is what is really important, right? It should not be about your achievements. It should not be about what you have on your resume, what awards or honors you have won, what academics you are interested in. It doesn't have to be about any of these things. And you will see this when I show you at the end, when we were talking about the actual reading of real essays. You will see that as well. So that's generally the essay. So don't get too hung up on the prompt. Try and identify your story before you actually get to the prompt. Now, this is where a lot of us really struggle. What is reflection and what is description? I think most school curriculums in the world really fail at teaching students how to be reflective. They're very good at teaching you how to be descriptive, but it's not really telling you how it has impacted you, right? So show, whenever you describe something, show the impact it has had on you, even if it is something as big as watching a basketball match where Steph Curry scored, I don't know how many points. What impact did it have on you? Impact doesn't have to come from large things. Impact can come from very small things as well. So you want to use scenes and tell stories, not summaries. Show me that you are learning. If you're, again, I go back to, if you're going to tell me that you're curious, don't just tell me curious. Give me an example in your life where you have been curious. I'll give you an example. I had a student who said, oh, I'm curious, I'm curious. We really beat around the bush a couple of times trying to understand where she was showing her curiosity. And then the example that she came up with is that everybody in her house loves eating ketchup. And so they have one bottle of ketchup and they're all trying to, get the ketchup out towards the end. And so she used her knowledge of physics to understand that if you just spin the ketchup bottle in a certain way, it will give centrifugal force and that will help the ketchup come out. Right? So that is an example of you using your curiosity. It is a scene, it is a story, it is not a summary. And it's lovely. It's a thing that has stuck in my mind. How many students tell me that they are curious? But this is a story that has really stuck. So that being said, this is the mantra, I would say, that you want to repeat to yourself. Show, don't tell. Show me, give me examples. Even if initially you feel that your essay has become too long, continue to show. Don't tell. Give me examples of this is how I am showing that I'm compassionate. This is how I'm showing I am inquisitive. This is how I'm showing I'm empathetic. Give me examples that show me that this has actually happened to you. What this does is it does two things. A, it makes the essay more fun to read because there is incidences and anecdotes. It also shows me that it is an authentically human experience, right? It adds, otherwise, everybody can say they're curious, but then what is the curiosity in your life? And this is what I mean. These stories don't have to be grand. They don't have to be you winning an award from the president of your country. It can be as simple as getting ketchup out of a bottle for your family, right? So that is one thing to really remember. And please understand that this part, this reflection versus description, is what is very hard for most people to do. And I say that including myself. If I had to write a Common App essay today, I feel like I would struggle as well. It's not easy to reflect, especially on our own self. Even for all of us who think we are very self-aware, we are not as self-aware as reflection requires us to be. Yeah. Now, there is no, again, I know this slide says essay formula, but please remember there is no magic formula here that will give you the perfect essay. At the end of the day, generally speaking, what you really want to think of is what has happened and why it matters. If you broke a glass bottle, why was it important to you? Right? If you are going to talk about an achievement, why was it important to you? And how did you feel as a human emotion? How did you feel when these things were happening? It's very important to reflect on that. Everyone is going to feel proud when they win a big award, but it's the smaller moments that really show me how you felt in that moment, right? So reflective writing requires you to show your growth, it requires you to show insight, and it requires you to show personal meaning. A Common App essay needs to have an arc. You start from point A, this is who you were before this incident happened. The incident happened, and then you became this person that you are today. This is your growth arc. And the one thing to remember is that you are the hero of this essay. This essay is not about you going out and just helping someone else. So if you tell me a story that I taught someone English, for example, and that person passed their exam and they got a job, the hero of that story is actually the other person, right? The person who actually persevered and learned a new language and got a job. What is your story? Is that how you felt doing all these things? What did you learn in the process? That is the essay. The essay is not that other person achieving things. The essay is what you are feeling as the other person is achieving things. That is reflective writing. Again, very, very hard to do. Again, you will see this in the examples that we have at the end. Again, now, sorry, I keep saying again. The process we have at Borderless is, generally speaking, this is our process. And I think this should be the process of someone who's trying to write their own essay as well. Brainstorm your ideas. Don't try to write to a blank page. It's very hard to come up with a 650-word essay on the spot. Very few people do have those ideas, but in general, brainstorm. There are several ways to brainstorm. You might find free worksheets online. You can ask us, you can take our mentorship, our essay package as well. Veronica can probably tell you guys later, but you have to start with the brainstorming. What the brainstorming does, it gives you themes. It provides you themes. It shows you what are things that are important to you. Then write your first draft. Then you revise that. At the revision stage is really when you should start trying to answer one of the prompts. Until then, it should very much be a organic writing exercise. Try and seek feedback after you have done your revisions. The whole process generally takes about a month. I know that for most of you who are maybe applying for fall of 2026, you don't even have the month. So you really want to condense that timeline into maybe 2 weeks and give yourself, like, just kind of hit the ground running, keep the momentum going. Important note about feedback. I know a lot of us do this. We'll show our essays to our teachers and our counselors and our parents and our uncles and our aunts and multiple people. Please understand that the Common App essay is a subjective piece. There is no right or wrong. The grammar can be correct or incorrect. There is no right or wrong in terms of what you have written. Every person will give their own feedback. I see this happen to very good students where they will take so much feedback that the essay ends up looking like a mishmash of things. There is no central theme remaining. So try and limit the voices, try and limit. And the other thing, don't take too much adult feedback either. You are, at the end of the day, a teenager. The head of admissions at the University of Chicago said something very interesting. He actually told a group of students that if I wanted to admit your 30-year-old counselor or your 50-year-old mother, I would have asked them to write the essay and not you. I'm admitting you, hence I need to see you writing the essay. Keep the theme to what someone your age would be interested in. I cannot believe that what I, as a 42-year-old, care about is the same thing that you, as a 17-year-old, cares about. So make sure that you are limiting those voices. I would say, in terms of feedback, you need to stick to maybe 3 people, and that is it. That is it. Don't go beyond that. It just becomes like a whole, it's just like I said, it's a mishmash of things, and the essay loses a voice. The essay loses a theme, right? So that's your general essay process. Now, I know I'm trying to save time, and I'm sure there's going to be questions. So the two things, and I want to give you final, yes, authenticity is very important. You don't have to have a perfect essay. Again, I go back to the University of Chicago's head of admissions, who said, you are 17 years old. You are not um, Jhumpa Lahiri or these amazing Arundhati Roy. You are not an author who has an MFA from Harvard. You cannot be expected to produce that level of writing. So be authentic. If you're going to have to choose between these two things, be authentic. Be who you are. Tell me your story. And the topic of the hour, AI. Please, please, please do not use AI to write your essay. Doesn't matter if you're using Gemini, Claude, Humanify, ChatGPT. I can tell you, Veronica and I read a lot of essays. We can tell very quickly when something is AI generated. You can use the AI to organize your thoughts. You can use the AI to give you an outline to write. That is all okay. But the minute you start using AI to actually write your essay, it loses any kind of human flavor. There is nothing, because unfortunately, I don't think there is an AI tool out there yet that can produce that level of writing. When I name big writers, why am I able to name them? Because even though they might have published books that have sold 1 million copies and have won the same prizes, they still have very unique voices. J.K. Rowling does not sound the same as Jhumpa Lahiri. They could be writing the same genre, they could be writing about very similar things, but how do I know the difference? It's their authentic voice. So don't give in to the I don't think there are AI detector tools that are great, because unfortunately AI detector tools are very faulty as well currently. So one might say that your essay is completely human, one might say your essay is completely AI generated. Either ways, don't rely on those tools. Just try not to write through any AI tool. Write yourself. Trust your story, right? I think I have really gone through everything quite quickly so that I can give you. So we can, Veronica, do we want to do the actual reading activity first and then come to the questions?
Yes, I think let's do that because by the end, people tend to drop out a little bit. So it would be great to
Okay.
do the
So
live review.
I'm going to stop sharing the slides and I'm going to share the first draft. Okay.
Yeah, while you do that, about AI, so there is no perfect detector, and that is confirmed by engineers who are building AI tools. So if you plug it into ChatGPT 0 or whatever and it tells you some percentage, that's not an issue because sometimes there are essays that you've written that are flagged as AI, or your friend wrote an essay with AI, yet it's flagged as a human, and then you're like, why is that happening? It doesn't matter. And it's also not about the M dashes, or, there are certain patterns where people would just take out the M dash and put a comma and think that they fixed it. These are surface level things. Like replacing M dash with a comma does not add authenticity. So just be really honest with yourself and be like, okay, is this actually my word? And if you close your computer, can you tell me the exact same story by
Yeah,
yourself?
that's good. I like that. I think that's a very good measure of, if you can tell me the story without looking at a screen, then I know that it's authentic, right? Okay, so we will come back to some of these points as we go forward. For the next, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes, what we want to do is, these are several drafts. There are 3 drafts that you will see. written by the same student. And I want to do a couple of things. The first thing is I want you to see what are certain mistakes that the student might have made. In the first draft, I want, if you guys can, in the chat box, if you can say what are you feeling or what are some of the mistakes that you're spotting based on what the discussion that we've just had. Then I will tell you, like, I can give you a little bit of background on the student, and I'll point out what are some of the good things about this essay as well. Once we go through the first draft, we'll move on to the second one, and then we'll also look at the final version of the essay that the student ended up submitting. A few things to remember is that obviously this draft has come up after the brainstorming and the themes part of the process was done. The student had done a whole brainstorming document, and then we discussed some themes and topics, and then the student landed up on this particular one. The other thing to notice also is that you are not going to see a prompt yet, right? Because this is an early stages draft. There is no prompt in this. And again, so let's just read first, and then let's tell me in the chat, what you are seeing. Please let me know when you want me to scroll. Should I scroll down? Does anyone have?
I guess we could
Yeah.
scroll.
Okay.
There will be additional drafts of the same essay. So if you miss the first one, you're gonna get pretty lost. So this is very, very important that you guys participate.
Sure. We'll also do a little guessing at the end about what programs this student was applying for. Yeah, I want that to be. Yes, Armin, I like that comment a lot.
I personally feel like it's not really getting to the point, as in, like, I know she's into gardening, but I don't know much about her besides just where she lives and gardening.
Yeah. Yeah, Iman, absolutely.
Please.
I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you guys can see towards the end. No, there's no being rude here. It's okay. This is all a constructive space. But yes, you are right. It seems very disparate right now.
I also think there's a little too much repetition of the same themes and same things.
Yes. So this is actually, Iman brings up a very good point. A lot of times people feel that they have to fill space because it's a 650 word essay. And when you have not really spent time brainstorming on themes, you end up doing this filling kind of, it's a lot of fluff and padding to up the word count. Yep. Good point, Nathan. Yeah, we don't really know why this is important. Like, why am I reading this? Yeah, absolutely. You can have very impactful essays which are much shorter than 650 words. Yep. These are all, I'm really loving the comments. You guys really listened, I feel. So I should give myself a pat in the back. Okay. Ashuma, what do you mean looks like a Y major rather than a common app essay? Okay, let's take one more minute to read and then we'll open up for proper discussion. Mohammed, we'll come back to the questions after we finish the reading activity. We'll definitely talk about the topic that you are talking about, the natural disasters. We will touch upon that. It's a good question, actually. Okay, let's open up. So I am looking at your comments in the chat box. All of them are actually very, very true. They're very valid. The first and the most important point that I keep seeing is that you don't really get to know the person. You are just seeing the person doing a certain activity. So it's a very good example of descriptive rather than reflective writing. Few things I want to point out that are actually done well in this essay are the fact initially, I think the student really captured a lot of detailing very well, right? I can actually, besides not understanding where the student is coming from, I have a very good idea of what his or her setting looks like. I know the name of the city. I know where they were living. I understand. I can see this picture in my mind. So that's a very good thing I feel that they achieved very early on. But yes, I think the biggest challenge right now is there is this, if I was to map this on that arc that I was talking about earlier, it has only come halfway. We are missing the entire second half, right? What was your feeling? What was your growth? What was your reflection? What were the things that you learned you will then continue to carry with you as you go forward? So yeah, it started off good. Actually, Sharshuma, you're right, shifted to only sticking to one point throughout the second half of the essay. So what this kind of shows, one thing that I would, when I see this draft, right, what really I have learned from this essay is that this student is not really sure on what theme they want to highlight. They are not completely, they've identified a story, but they are not able to then take that story and actually show any connection to them as a person. Now, I really do want to know, do you have any guesses on what kind of major the student was applying for? Anyone? I think someone mentioned earlier about, yeah, biology, botany, yeah, environment. And interestingly, a lot of you have assumed that it's a girl. It's actually a boy, and he was applying for mechanical engineering. So, what my point is, this is a good point to really consider. An essay doesn't have to do anything with your academic and he was also academically extremely brilliant. I believe his SAT score was a 1580, and he had like A level grades. He was very, very, yes, mechanical engineering. He got into very good universities. I believe he got into several top schools, both in the US and the UK. My point is, when you look at an essay, the whole point of brainstorming is that it should be able to help you identify stories and themes which are important to you, not about what you want to study, not about what you want to achieve at university, not about the academic achievements. It doesn't have to be anything like that. I think personally that the fact that this student picked something like this, it was a very, very good choice, because immediately what it made me do was it added an entire new dimension to his personality. He had brilliant academics, he had brilliant extracurriculars. He had invented a weather robot, he had interned with Samsung. It all was amazing. But this essay just added an entirely new dimension to him. And I think this is where he got it right. Yes, he was not, for the first draft, he was not right in getting the reflection down. But this is what I really want to highlight, is that you don't have to talk about things that happen to you, or things that you think are your largest achievements, or things which you think will sound impressive. It's always about what really gives a story. What is important to you? What are the things that I really care about doing? Right? Yeah. Okay, so should we read the subsequent draft then? I'm going to share the new one. Okay, again, please let me know when I should scroll. What I have done here is that you might see that there are some of my comments left in here. The reason I keep this in is because I just want you guys to understand also what is a general process sometimes when you get essays reviewed with Borderless. Because I feel like these are the most important and the most critical, most constructive things that you can get out of working with someone who's actually reviews essays generally. Several things to note. We have now landed upon a prompt. This is also, I think this is something that happens organically. Like I said, there was no prompt when he wrote the first draft. There is a prompt now, right? So please read, let me know when you want me to scroll. Should I scroll down? Yeah, okay, I'm going to scroll a little bit. Here, let's keep it to here. You can see then. Sure. Scroll up. Just going to scroll down. Okay. Um, Thank you, Iman. Yes. So I feel like a lot of you are kind of catching on now. This draft, I see that some of you have mentioned that, yes, he's become more reflective in the draft. There is also a few things. The reason I left in my comments is so that you can see what I mean by show, not tell. So this comment, this particular sentence here is a very good example of him telling me something, but me not seeing it. Right? How do I know that this is all there? Yeah. And now the example of gardening is relating to him. Now, for someone who might be, gardening is actually a very interesting theme to pick, because what gardening is actually a literal metaphor for growth. Again, he was a very smart student, so he had come up with the ideas in that way, right? The problem was he was not able to translate the metaphor into actually writing it. He had a very good idea here. So yes, he's still not there yet. Definitely not. He's still kind of, it's still a lot of like fluff about gardening rather than himself. But the other thing to also note is that sometimes it's nice to add an element where you bring in another person, right? Because what this does is it shows you in juxtaposition or in connection with others. It's great if you are able to write an entire essay about yourself, but then human beings are not islands. You have to interact with other people as well. Again, more important to show this element in your community essay, but it's also, if you're really struggling to write, it's nice to bring in other people, because what this does is, even in writing, like in acting or drama or film, when you add another character, you're able to show dialogue and you're able to show connection, you're able to show exchange. And that adds a human element as well. I'm trying to see other comments. Yeah. But yes, as you again, but the one thing to kind of note also is still no mention of engineering. He is not saying anything about, oh, I'm going to engineer a solution to come up with better gardens or anything like that. No. He's still very firmly in his own space. This is something which he's pursuing completely outside his academic or extracurricular activities. And I think that is very important to kind of understand, right? Okay, I know we are running short on time, so I'm going to quickly share the final draft of this essay, and then we'll open up for more questions. That's fine. I'm not going to give too much time. I'm just going to scroll much faster this time. I'm going to go down a little bit. What I want you guys to see is what happens to the end of the essay, which was really the biggest problem that we were facing initially. There's a lot of interesting things. You'll see that this kind of detailing, like you see names have started coming up, specifics have started showing up. These are things that we add on as we go along the process. Put down a little more. Yes, Armin. If it is organically fitting, your academic interests are organically fitting with what you're writing about, you can definitely include them. But again, the important thing is to not make the essay about the academic interest, but more about yourself. So do you see what the reflections have come in now, right? What did the gardening teach him? And what is he carrying forward? Okay, I'm going to answer some of these questions here. Sorry, there's a question about essay requirement is 300 words and asks for leadership and teamwork. Will it be too bad to write it like a description, not a story? I mean, it is, I would say at any time when you're applying to the US, story is always better than description. Because leadership and teamwork are actually the best things to write stories about. It's actually, you don't need to describe. Leadership is something which is organically telling a story. So I would still try to make it as story like, rather than just saying, this is my leadership experience? What is your leadership experience? What are you learning from that leadership experience? Okay. So I think there's some questions about AI. How can you use, so please understand that I am no AI expert. I am not even a prompt engineer or anything like that. What can you tell the AI to refine your ideas? The thing that I would caution against is, yeah, you can put all your ideas and then just say, hey, what is a what is an essay theme that you see emerging, or what are some themes that you see emerging? And that should be able to, sorry, yeah, Veronica, your hand is up.
Yeah, I want to touch on the AI. So if you guys have used our app, you would see that, I mean, it's literally AI powered app. And we have put in a lot of thought about how to make it work without violating any rules of what is ethical, what is acceptable. So what you can do there is number one, you can brainstorm. And I think this is truly the best feature of AI because we talked so much about brainstorming. And yes, it's great to do it with a person, but if you can't afford to have one-on-one time with a counselor or you're running out of time, like that is something that I highly recommend to do. And what makes our AI special is that it is very much contextual for a specific supplemental essay in specific college, so it's not going to just give you open-ended suggestions. That's one thing you can do. And then we also have the AI essay review. And the important part here is that it's review and not the editing. That is the line that we never want to cross, where AI would literally rewrite sentences for you and change the words that you use and change the tone that you use, because this is how it gets generic. One thing you need to understand is there's one AI consciousness, and you cannot make it tailored to you because to ChatGPT, you're just one out of a billion users. And how would it know what you think, what you feel, what are your values? You have to give it so much context about your entire life. And if you're able to do that, you might as well just write your own essay. Like, trust me, it is easier to do that than to make AI fully resonate with you. So, really recommend to use our tools because this is very much ethical use of AI that is actually helpful. If you need grammar help, please use Grammarly. It's a free tool, it's great, and it also doesn't do more than you ask. Because with ChatGPT, sometimes you ask it to fix grammar and then starts fixing everything else. And again, that's where your authenticity goes out of the window. So Borderless, Grammarly, and just your own work. And if you have one missed comma, it's fine. In fact, it shows that you've written it as a person.
I think there's several questions about which app. It's our Borderless app. So
Right, let me
yeah,
send the link here
yeah.
and here.
So, and I think the tool is really good because I think it really is like chatting with another person. It's built to feel very interactive, and that's the whole kind of point that an essay review would get you, is that it's not really about refining, maybe just editing things and rewriting. It's really just to kind of refine your thought process so that you get it down to something which would be interesting. Yeah. There's also a question. Yes, if an essay discusses another person, notably, but it relates how it has impacted them and what they have learned from them, is that all right? So are you talking about that you have learned from something that has happened to a family member? Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. That happens. It's a very common theme that comes up because you are young. You're not going to have amazing experiences outside. But again, the important thing is, even if that family member, let's say, for again, this is just an example. Let's say a family member has gone through a tough disease, for example, right? And they have come out on the other side. The important thing is not to just show that they came out and you saw how important things were. It's also how you interacted with that situation, right? What were you doing? You cannot just be someone who is watching this person who is dealing with a very debilitating illness. It's also how are you interacting with them, right? Oh, sorry, did I just wait? Am I still sharing? I'm
Yeah,
going to stop
with
sharing.
the
Sorry.
essay.
Yeah, I don't. So yeah, sorry. Um,
Alrighty, I think I will talk briefly about the package that we have, and then we can go back to answering your questions. We're already a bit over time, so if you guys need to leave, you can do that. But if you're free, we can hang around for a few more questions. But I wanted to jump in with something that will really help you get your essays done. As you guys remember, Ruchi has talked about like a multi-step framework, which is brainstorming, editing, refining your drafts. And I want to talk about our personal statement package. That is not the app, that is work with Ruchi and with me, with humans who are still better at essay editing. Maybe not for long, we will see. But as of right now, we're good. So the way this works is that you get 5 1-hour one-on-one sessions with Ruchi or myself, depending on your time zone or maybe your cultural background. So I'm from Central Asia, so I would work with students from that background. Ruchi is from India. She's based in the Middle East, so we'll see who is better for that. You get 5 1-hour sessions and you get 3 rounds of written reviews. The written reviews essentially you have a Google Doc which you share with us, and then we leave in-depth comments. We tell you, hey, you might want to rephrase this or fix that. Again, we don't rewrite the essay for you, but we do our best to make it very clear for you about how you can improve it. This package is designed to take you from I have no idea what to write about, or maybe I have a few ideas, but I don't know what's worth writing about, up until a completed draft. That is the guarantee that I make for all of you guys. You will have a draft in less than 1 month. If you work really fast, you can get it done in 2 weeks. If you take a lot of time in between the drafts, it can take longer, but it's designed to take only 1 month. If now your Google Doc is empty, it can be fully ready again in 1 month, which is like a essay bootcamp if you can think about it. So the way sessions are structured, session one is brainstorming, where we jump with you on a call and we cycle through the ideas, your values, your life experiences, and by the end of this call, you will have an idea of what it is that you're going to write about. In session number two, we discuss the outline. As you know, there are different types of structures. There's the narrative structure, there's the montage structure. Maybe you want to pick an object and write about how it has impacted you. There's many different ways to do it, so we will come up with that outline. And then the next 3 calls are really going over your draft. And just like you've seen how the gardening draft has transformed from something that you all could see flaws in into a powerful reflective essays, that is the journey that we will take you through. So, this is the package. It is currently at $500, but because you guys are here, you're clearly committed. We are giving you a $50 off discount with a coupon code December, or like DEC50. And this coupon code is only valid for 2 days or 48 hours. The reason I'm rushing you is not because we need it, but it's just because to get you guys to act. As we are reaching the end of the first week of December, there's not much time. And last year, I've had people who would book a session with me in literally December 28th, and they were like, I want to discuss essay ideas. And this made me panic because no matter how good of a counselor you are, it is extremely difficult to do something in such a short period of time. Now we still have a month, so really let's make sure we use this month. And also, let's make sure this process is not stressful. Because, yes, maybe somebody wrote a whole essay in 3 days, but they probably were pulling their hair out and they don't have a good memory of that process. If you structure it well, if you work with a person who can guide you, who can keep you accountable, who can provide guidance, the next month can be really productive and actually enjoyable, and you would feel really proud of your work. So I will send you guys the link. You can again check a little bit more details. And if you are interested in working with us, please use the code. You can save $50, which is a lot. It is literally the cost of pretty much Duolingo English test. This is the largest discount that we will give, and we don't plan to have any more sales until the end of the year. So take advantage of this opportunity. And if you have any questions about how the package works, you can either leave them right now in the chat, or you can send a message to our email or WhatsApp, and I will share both of these right here. Okay, I think that is it in the package, and we can go back to questions. Ruchi, if you have a little bit of time, and I'll drop the
Sure, I
links.
have about 5 more minutes, if that's okay. Yeah. Um, Arshima, yeah, if you are applying next August, I'm not quite sure because you're saying that you will be starting university in fall of 2027. Then, I mean, I don't think if you're saying that your applications are due January of 2027, January 1st, I have students who are ready with their essays in the August before they even begin their final high school year. They will spend those 2 months just working on the essay. So I don't think there's any like timeline that is too early. Again, I see a lot of questions asking about careers and academics in the personal statement. I think the danger you run when you talk about your academic achievements, be it computer science, be it personal, your career path, the focus of the essay becomes the subject and not what you have done. If you really didn't know anything about computer science and you learned things about computer science and now you want to pursue computer science, that is a why major essay. That is not really telling me who you are besides intellectually curious. But that intellectual curiosity is something that everyone applying to university will have. Otherwise, why apply to university? Right? So that is, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see there's a question about can it relate to a statement and how your personality relates to that? Yeah, I would imagine it's just how would you write it is really going to be interesting to see. Yeah, that's fine. Following the PS is the snippets from life. Yeah, I think that's really what our tool actually will help you do, is to connect these disparate points into something that is an essay. So I would say, Mira, definitely check out the Borderless app and try and figure that out. Yeah, the snippets actually, sometimes it's a good thing to have various snippets because you're able to then really do several things with it instead of just having one solid incident and then trying to tie everything to that one incident. So yeah, but definitely check out the app. You're welcome. Um, hmm. So when you, again, I think, Manahil, if you are talking about wanting to do something for others, the hero of the story still has to be you. And I need to know why you want to do that. If you want to do something, great, but why is it that that particular thing is important to you? Right? So that's, please be sure about that. And the other thing to remember is even if, make sure that your essays are not somehow overlapping with the why major essay then, right? Because a lot of these things that you guys are asking could be things that are related to the major. Okay, yeah, let's address this. I don't think there is, so first thing is, I think trauma dumping in general is something which is a very individualized situation. I think it's not that they don't want international students to trauma dump about being bullied. Trauma dump, it really, the essay is should be a place where you, even if you've gone through something, show me how you came out on the other side. If you were bullied and you persevered through it, the important thing is then, okay, you persevered, but then how is that perseverance then impacting other areas of your life as well? And so I would say there's no But yeah, try and limit your trauma dumping to the, just see what there is no, and also understand that just because you have gone through something doesn't mean that it's diminished because you are an international student. You still, any human beings are allowed to feel a certain way, even if just because you're not American, you're not allowed to feel bullied. I mean, that cannot be the case. Um, so I think the important thing with those kinds of essays is to really strike a good balance and to show how the growth is happening then, right? Um, no, there is no, it doesn't matter which topic of the seven you choose, there is no perception that one prompt is better than the other. The AOs look at everything in the same way. Normal flow, there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at this student's essay. He wrote about gardening. There was no trauma, there was no sad story, there was no bullying, there was no twist. It was just a regular slice of life story. And that's fine. That's completely fine. In fact, those tend to be very interesting sometimes. Any other questions? Yes, Arshuma. Yeah, you can definitely write multiple, see which one you like. Maybe you can combine two or three of them, make a solid final draft. There's Zaina has asked something which is, I guess, not related to essay writing, but is there a preference for IB students? No, nothing like that. Everyone, this has nothing to do with, everybody's on the same page. Okay. I think that's all the questions I see right now. Oh, writing material matters, vocabulary, grammar. Are you saying that you want to have the correct English? Try to be as correct as possible. I mean, there are several tools out there that make sure that your grammar is correct. So yeah, vocabulary is obviously a function of your English language capability. It's not that everyone cannot have the same vocabulary. Yeah.
All right, I think we've gone through most questions. Yeah, I think we will be wrapping up. Thank you so much, Ruchi, for
Thank
this
you.
amazing session.
Zaima, just final question on AI. Veronica, you want to take that?
Can we ask AI to rephrase sentence of our own voice? No, because you're contradicting yourself. You're saying you wrote something in your own voice and then you want AI to rephrase it. And when it does it, it will stop being your own voice and that will be AI's voice. I hope you see what I mean. The one way that I can maybe allow the use of AI is that if you're looking for a synonym and you're saying, hey, here's my sentence, but I really don't like this word. Maybe it sounds too aggressive. Give me different variations of this one word. And then you see all the options and you pick the word by yourself. But I really absolutely do not recommend to write some gibberish jabberish or even like a full sentence, be like, hey, make it more sophisticated or rephrase it or add something. That is your job. Like writing and putting thoughts on paper is what this whole exercise is about. So please train yourself to do that. Again, we are here to help. And if you have one more year before you apply, maybe you now can see how this is a pretty challenging exercise. But yeah, guys, please don't look for shortcuts. Like if anyone can just AI their essays, then nobody's getting in because how are you going to stand out, right?
I think we can do a session on supplements for sure.
Yeah, yeah. If you want a session on supplements, leave us thumbs up emoji or like a reaction. Okay, I get one. That's not good. Okay, okay, there's more. All right. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. So, okay, there's a lot. We'll try to do that. I think it would be more helpful to do it on like specific types, such as the Y college, Y major, and perhaps the diversity one, because it gets to be pretty tricky. Yeah, stay in touch with Borderless. Follow us on Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp, we are everywhere possible. And also use our app because we are going to, like, if you use our app, we have your email, and this is how we can notify you about opportunities like that. So yeah, keep an eye on what we post. But yeah, I'll discuss with Ruchi and we'll definitely try to do something. And we want to do something on the UK as the deadline for that is coming up as well. I'm going to drop the link to the package, oh my God, to the chat again. Check it out. Again, if you are still stuck and it's December 6th, you need this package. As much as I want to be nice, but we really do not have the time. And if you've already done your SATs, you have amazing grades, you did so many activities, don't let this last piece ruin your application because it very much can. Like, it's not something you can just be like, oh, it's fine, I'll get in anyway. Like, unfortunately, this can ruin your application. Or you can also take it to the next level. And now you really have the time and the opportunity to enhance it and to make it great. So if there's one thing you should be working on, regardless of if you do it alone or with us, it is your personal statement. Don't do new activities, don't start passion projects, don't try to show demonstrated interest. At this point, you're just gonna annoy the admissions committee. Put all of your mental energy and time into the essay. Please, there's one thing I beg of you guys. Okay, we are going to wrap up. You will get the recording in the next couple of days. And good luck with your essays. We know this is really hard, but based on the exercises today and the feedback you provided, it seems like you know what you're doing. So continue pushing, and we are hoping to hear good news from all of you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to have to go. Thanks, Veronica.
Yeah, alrighty, bye. I'm gonna
Bye.
go as
Bye.
well. Bye, guys. Have a good evening or night or morning, and we will see you at the next one. Bye.